Like, this is one of those books that I will be talking about 5 years from now. The mystery was there. It was a page turn. Like, I love how it was told. Oh my gosh, I gotta put that on my TBR. It's in the top. It's in the top 3. What's up, chapter bestie, and welcome back to another video. For those who don't know, my name is Angie. I am primarily a romance and suspense reader, but this video is not romance and suspense. I have a small secret to share. I read my first historical fiction novel book that I was not forced to read. You know how sometimes back in school we were forced to read things that we weren't really interesting or we didn't really want to hear about, but I read this on my own free will. Like, I read it, and I'm so excited to share my thoughts on my first historical fiction book. So if you want to know more about this book, stick around. The book that I read was Before We Were Yours by Lisa Wingate. And before I get into the synopsis and share all my thoughts on all the things, I want to say that Lisa Wingate's writing in this book was so compelling. It was so captivating, to the point where I stopped the book, I paused the book, and I was like, I need to go find out what other books she has written. So I stopped, I went, Googled her, looked at all the books that she's written, and I'm like, reading the synopsis of the book, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I gotta put that on my TBR. Oh my gosh, I gotta put that on my TBR. Oh my gosh, I gotta put that on my TBR. And it was, I love when authors do that to you, because that means you have really captivated somebody's attention through your storytelling, through your detailing, through just you just inspired that person. And that's what this book did to me. Like, it really truly got me, and I'm so happy that it was my first historical fiction read that I read on my own free will, that I wasn't forced to read. But anyway, the book is told in past and present time, and the past is dated 1939 in Memphis, and in the past it follows Rill Foss, Rillfoss is the last name, Foss, aka Mae Weathers. And she is the older sibling of a bunch of different kids. I think she had like 4 siblings, 3 girls, 3 younger sisters, and 1 younger brother. And so her mom, Queenie, and her father, Briney, all of them live on a shanty boat. And I'm going to have some resources at the bottom so you can understand this story a little bit better and make you want to go read the book. But anyway, her and her family live on the shanty boats. So like maybe the upper class, it would be called river rats. And it really is a thing I discovered through reading this book and just like learning some history and stuff like that. They live on a shanty boat, and her mom is pregnant, and something happens to where the parents have to leave and deliver the babies at a hospital, and the parents never come back. So the police come by and they take Rill and her siblings to the Tennessee, I think it's called the Tennessee Children's Home Society or something like that. And they take her to siblings, and basically they're subject to abuse, all types of different things. And so Rill, she's fighting to keep her siblings together, she's fighting for her life, she's fighting just all these types of different things, and it's really heartfelt. So in present day, you have Avery Stafford. Rich girl, comes from money, like her family name means something. She's a lawyer, and she returns back. I think she was in Maryland or the DMV area, and she returns back to Aiken, South Carolina, because her father is sick, and she's trying to help him through some political things and stuff like that. She's next in line to be this and to be that, and you know the typical stereotype of, I come from money, I have to follow in my parents' footsteps and be just the greatest thing ever. So they end up, there's like a nursing home scandal or something like that. They end up at this nursing home where she meets a resident who takes something from her. And the resident is how this story unfolds. And so it follows her in the present day, unfolding secrets in her family, unfolding just past things and experiences that her family has gone through, and found family, or whatever the case may be, however you want to word it. The way that everything is told in this book, it all ties together. The people, they all connect to one another, and I love how the book just, I love how it was told. Like, I can't even describe without sharing some things, but everything just connects together, and it connects in a realistic and a memorable way. Like, this is one of those books that I will be talking about 5 years from now, 10 years from now, going down. Well, I can't say it's in the top of my historical fiction books because I haven't read that many, but right now it's in the top. It's in the top 3. And the way it was told, it just all came together. One thing that I love about this historical fiction book as a suspense reader, the mystery was there. It was a page turn. Like, you wanted to know, oh my gosh, what's happening next? What's happening next? And I felt like each chapter left you with the desire to read more, as it went from Avery to real to Avery to real. Like, it left you wanting more and to know what's getting ready to happen and how the past tied into the present. Like, it was amazing. The mystery was so good to the point where you would think like, oh, I know what this is, and I know who this person is, and I know who that person is, and it's like, no, you don't. You'll have no clue. I mean, if you're smarter than a 5th grader, you'll know, but I had no idea tying things together. Like, of course, some things you knew, but there were other things that really surprised you, and I love the suspense in the book, especially, like I said, as a suspense reader. There were some things in the book that I want to share because I always take some personal lessons out of books, and just just like, I like when books make you feel certain things and make you think about certain things on a deeper level. One of the things that I didn't like in the book, and I know this is history, it happened, it's in a lot of books, but one of the things that I did not care for is like the description of, I forget, I'll insert a clip here, but them describing black people like as black as tar, something like that. That was, I'll have the clip somewhere in here, the description of how they said it. But yeah, I did not like that, and I know that it's history and these things happen, and talking about black people being hung, like that just, and it wasn't a lot of that. It was not a lot of that. I think it was mentioned maybe twice, but that's the only thing that I just don't care for, and it's the only reason why I don't really like reading historical fiction, because I don't like certain things and to like think about certain things, especially that black people went through back in the day. Like, it just, I don't like it. I don't like it. But one of the life lessons that I wanted to share about this book is how certain kids feel the need to live up to their parents' standards and following in their parents' footsteps. And I think around 2010, I kind of fell victim to this, where I was trying to prove something, and then I realized, like, these people are full of sins just like me. They're full of mistakes and faults and errors just like me. Why try to prove myself to somebody who's not who is just like me, who makes mistakes just like me? And I think when we try to live up to our parents' standards, it's probably maybe something that they ingrained in us, something that we just, just their expectations. And I always feel sad when I read stories like that, and the parents are putting all these expectations on their children. But I love the way that Avery handled it towards the end of the book, and just fighting for what she wants as opposed to what her parents wants or what society is telling her to do. Another thing is partnership, marriage, and just making sure that you're marrying the person that's for you. And a lot of these things you discover in the dating period, which is why it's so important to date and get to know one another. One of the things in the book, I did not like her fiance too much, because I feel like if something is important to your husband or your wife or your partner, if you decide marriage is not for you, whatever, if something is important to the person that you love, it should be important to you too, and vice versa. And I struggle with that in the book, because I'm like, she wants this, like, you should be rooting her on and cheering her on, no matter how you think it may make somebody look, or like, what are you doing? Like, that just really irritated me. So that's one message that I wanted to just share with people. Like, if you have a person, or if you're in a dating period, make sure you marry somebody that is going to, they don't have to agree with anything that you do, but just making sure that they support you regardless of their feelings on a matter. If it's important to you, it should be important to them as well. Another thing that I wanted to discuss was infertility. And even though this really didn't touch on infertility per se, but people in that Tennessee home, they were basically being sold to families that could not have children, or something happened with the children, the babies were dying or whatever the case may be. And it just got me thinking about what women will do to have a baby, like the extreme measures that they will go to have a baby, because sadly this stuff is still probably going on today, just maybe on a smaller scale. We see it all the time with that I forget what her name was, Mosley, the black family from Jacksonville, where her baby, she was a teen mom, and a nurse came in pretending to be a nurse and stole the baby right out of the hospital and raised her, I think in South Carolina, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So we see a bunch of these stories. So it's like nothing new under the sun. Like, this stuff is still happening, just in a different way. And it just got me thinking about that. Just like when you see a woman, let's not ask women when they're gonna have a baby or just anything of that sort, because it can really make that woman feel depressed, especially if she really desires to be a mother. There's women out there that don't desire that. They don't really, whatever happens, but there are women out here that will do what they need to do to create that family. They'll adopt, they will use another person's egg, they will use, so you just have to just be respectful and be mindful of people that's suffering with infertility. I don't know why that thought came to me, but it did when I was reading the book. Another thing too, is so much evilness in the world. And when I look at the time I was reading the book, I didn't know the Tennessee Children's Society, whatever it's called, was a real thing. Like, I did not know until in the back of the book, it gives you like an essay from the author on Shantyboats, and I'm like, Shantyboats, that's a real thing. Like, she didn't make this up. And I really like that in the book too. It's just learning history while you're reading something fictional. And so I look up Tennessee Society, and sure enough, it's a real thing. And for 26 years, Georgia Tann got away with taking children from parks, taking children from teen moms, convincing parents that they can't raise their child, and selling them basically to the highest bidder. Like, basically, just charging astronomical fees for these children so she can make a quick buck. Like, it's pure evil. And there's so much evilness in the world now that we just really have to just kind of like guard our hearts, lean on the Lord, and just really like, it just bothered me so much. Georgia Tann, she ended up dying, so she was never convicted for her crimes, but it's still just that she got away with it for so long. Politicians and people turning their back to her and just letting her run amok and just ruin people's lives. And I don't know, that really just there's so much evil in the world that we just really have to. And the last thought that I wanted to share on the book was, happens a lot in the Black community. So something happens in the book, there's a decision that's made to basically not discuss what happened in the society, like the abuse and all, the beatings and the things that these women or these kids were suffering. And one of the things that I don't like about families when they do this is, I know that it hurts them, but share your history with your kids, with your grandkids, with your great grandkids, because it will do them a service as adults. When you can understand background, when you can understand your family's background, like why they are the way you are, which makes up who you are, then you can just understand yourself as a whole. You can be a better individual. Like, you have more understanding, like, for yourself, and you can understand people better. Empathy, you can have empathy for other people when you understand yourself, is what I'm saying. And Black people do this a lot in our community, where we sweep stuff under the rug. We act like things didn't happen. We act like everything is just hunky-dory, and it's not. And I think it's so important to make sure that we share family history, and that we are just letting our children and our grandchildren and great-grands know like who they are, where they came from. Because you don't want people messing around with their cousin, you know what I mean? Like, that's just nasty these days. But yeah, so the book was amazing. I totally, highly recommend this book. If you don't read anything else for the rest of the year, pick up Before We Were Yours. I think it's been out for like a while now, just late to the party because I'm not a historical fiction person. But but this definitely made me a believer for sure. Like I said, because this was it was historical fiction, but some of the contents was based on a true story, so I do have some resources down below if you want to check out history on Shantyboats, if you want to check out Georgia 10 for whatever reason, if you want to check out the Tennessee Children's Society, where these kids were being just horrible treatment. And yeah, if you want to learn more about that, it's all in the description below. I hope you guys read this book. If you have read this book, please let me know your thoughts, your personal thoughts on the book. And if you haven't read it, let me know if I convince you to read it. Go pick it up. I promise you, I'm a romance suspense girly down to the core. That's on my channel, basically. Go pick up this historical fiction. It will not let you down. All right, guys, I'll see you guys all in the next video. Have a blessed day. The first historical fiction book that I read, well, the 3, 2, 1, the way that everything is told in this book, really, my personal thoughts on the book, there were some things that I wanted to share. Like, I always take life lessons out. Are you doing this on purpose?